A man worked for over 20 years to build a life, and in exactly 5 years and 9 months, his wife legally vaporized every single dollar he had, leaving his bank account with exactly $12.48.
It's just a staggering timeline. I mean, less than 6 years to systematically dismantle a lifetime of labor.
Your money, gone.
She took everything, then blamed you.
Wake up now.
Yeah. Welcome to the deep dive. You know, usually when we sit down to look at our materials, we're exploring like ideas, trends, maybe a bit of history.
Right, the usual stuff.
But today we are going raw and street level. We are unpacking a leaked confidential dossier, and let me tell you right now, there's going to be absolutely no sugarcoating this.
Not at all.
Our mission today is to dissect a financial slaughter.
Pleasure.
We are treating this dossier exactly like what it is, which is a crime scene.
Yeah, and we're going to walk you through exactly how this happens, step by step.
Exactly, so you can learn how to spot these manipulation traps before they ever happen to you or, someone you care about.
And to really understand the mechanics of this, I mean, we have to look closely at the players involved. So on one side, we have Marcus.
Right.
He's 42 years old, a senior civil engineer at a regional infrastructure firm. And by all accounts, he's a highly educated, highly capable professional. He solves complex structural problems for a living.
He's a smart guy.
Very. And on the other side is his wife, Lena. She's 39, a doctor with a successful private practice. So on paper, this is the ultimate power couple.
Oh, absolutely.
High earners, highly functioning, just moving through the world with zero visible friction.
Exactly. You look at them from the outside and all you see is success. But let me paint a picture for you of how that illusion shattered for Marcus.
It's a rough one.
It really is. It's 2:00 in the morning on a dark, rural highway. Marcus is driving home alone and he has a catastrophic tire blowout.
Just the worst timing.
Right. And he manages to pull over safely, checks the trunk, and his spare is completely flat. So he's stranded. He needs a tow truck.
Makes sense.
So he pulls out his wallet and grabs his personal credit card. Now, keep in mind, this is a card that has been in his name only, a card he opened like long before he even met his wife. The tow truck driver runs the card, declined.
The very first crack in the foundation.
Yeah.
Like the moment the structural integrity fails.
Right. So Marcus, probably feeling this mix of embarrassment and complete confusion, opens his banking app on his phone.
Expecting to see his normal balance.
Exactly, his standard checking balance. Instead, he sees a number that absolutely freezes his blood. $12.48.
Wow.
That is his entire liquid net worth, every dime he thought he had access to. He tries calling his wife, nothing. It just rings and rings.
At 2 a.m.
Right. He tries calling the emergency line at her private practice, still nothing. So he is standing in the pitch black on the side of a highway, a senior engineer, and he has to swallow his pride and beg a coworker to wake up.
This is so humiliating.
He has to have them read off their emergency corporate card number over the phone just to get his car towed.
The isolation in that moment must have been absolute. And remember, he still doesn't know why this is happening.
No idea.
He just knows the ground has completely vanished beneath his feet.
So he finally gets a ride and walks through his front door at 5:30 in the morning, and there is Lena.
Just waiting.
She is wide awake, sitting in the kitchen, calmly drinking a cup of tea. He looks at her, exhausted, terrified, and asks the only question that matters. Where did my money go?
And her response is just chilling.
She takes a sip of her tea, looks him dead in the eye, and says, "You didn't ask."
That phrase alone, I mean, it tells you everything about the dynamic that had been silently built in that house. You didn't ask.
Yeah.
It implies that the default state of his own money, his own labor, was no longer his. He was now merely a petitioner in his own life.
If you think that's cold, wait until you hear what she did next.
Because to understand how a successful, intelligent civil engineer gets reduced to begging a coworker for tow truck money while holding $12 to his name, we have to look at how Lena systematically altered his reality. What's fascinating here is that this wasn't a bank robbery. There were no masks, no guns, no stolen passwords. It was a slow, deliberate suffocation of his economic autonomy.
Okay, so let's unpack this. How do you trap a smart person? Like, let's go back in time a bit. How does she actually get the legal keys to the castle? Because you can't just walk into a bank and say, "Give me my husband's money."
No, you can't. You need legal authority. And she secured that authority through something we can really only describe as a biometric betrayal,
A biometric betrayal.
Yeah. 6 months before that night on the highway, Lena comes to Marcus on just a random evening. They're sitting on the couch. She hands him her phone and says she wants to do a quick financial health checkup using a new app.
Okay.
And the app requires a biometric scan to proceed.
And in today's world, we are completely conditioned to offer our thumbprints or our faces to our screens. Think about your own phone right now.
Right. All the time.
How many times a day do you let it scan your face to open a banking app or pay for coffee? It just feels like a standard security measure to view data.
Precisely. It feels like security. But that biometric scan was not unlocking a health checkup. It was capturing a legally binding digital signature.
For a power of attorney.
Exactly. A durable power of attorney for financial matters. And that grants her total, unchecked control over his assets.
Unbelievable.
And the chilling part is the psychological execution of this moment. She stood right behind him as he held the phone.
Wow.
And she read the fine print aloud to him in this soothing, calm, clinical voice. But she deliberately misrepresented 2 of the 4 key clauses in the document. He clicked accept because he trusted the voice reading to him.
Using a thumbprint on a fake app, that is absolute trash.
Yeah, it's bad.
That's a coward's way of stealing. It's like someone offering to check your heart rate, but while they're holding your wrist, they're secretly signing over the deed to your house.
That's exactly what it's like.
You're completely vulnerable, thinking you're doing something healthy, something responsible, and they are literally taking the ground beneath your feet. I mean, what does a power of attorney even let her do in this context?
It's essentially a blank check. It allows her to act as him. She can close accounts, open new ones, transfer funds, take on debt, all legally recognized as if Marcus himself were making those decisions.
So she has this legal skeleton key. What's the first thing she goes after?
The largest pool of liquid capital he had, his retirement.
Of course.
Once she had that power of attorney, she didn't just drain the accounts and run. That would trigger alarms. Instead, she restructured them using the language of financial responsibility.
How so?
She convinced Marcus to liquidate his 401k, which is a massive asset for a 42-year-old engineer. She told him they needed to merge it into a, quote, family trust that she would manage.
Right.
Arguing that it would drastically reduce their tax liability.
And this is where the paper trail becomes a weapon. Because Marcus, being an engineer, is a numbers guy.
Right. He wants to see it.
He eventually wanted to see the data. He pushed her for a statement. So she hands him a single piece of paper. It looks incredibly official.
It's very convincing.
It has a high balance figure and a beautifully upward trending growth projection. But here is the sickening detail. If you looked at the very bottom of that single page, the fine print literally read projected, not actual.
This raises such a critical question about how we process information from our partners. When a spouse hands you a document, your brain does not scan it with the same adversarial rigor it would if, like, a used car salesman handed it to you.
No, definitely not.
You look at the big number, you see the upward line, and your brain says, okay, we are safe.
And I think there's also something to be said about just being totally burned out here. High-stress professionals like engineers or really anyone working 40 to 50 hours a week, they are tired.
Exhausted.
You come home and you want your spouse to handle the boring logistical stuff. You want to outsource that mental load.
That is exactly the vulnerability she exploited. She weaponized his trust and his exhaustion to mask the fact that his retirement was entirely gone.
Gone.
She had moved it into an account solely in her name.
Wait, so tricking someone with a fake app or a projected chart covers the big abstract money like a 401k? But what about his actual daily life?
Yeah.
How do you completely drain a high earner's actual paycheck without them noticing? Because that requires a machine. It requires like a daily system.
It does. And the dossier breaks down the predatory mechanism she used to build that machine. She effectively built an allowance cage.
An allowance cage.
Yes, and she did it right out in the open.
Okay, wait. So if she set up a system to take his paycheck, how does she actually get her hands on the physical cash? Does the money bounce out of his account the second his paycheck clears, like a toll booth he didn't know he was paying?
That is precisely what it was. Lena set up an automated sweep on Marcus's checking account, the primary account where his direct deposit from the engineering firm landed.
Okay.
The moment his paycheck hit, the sweep automatically moved 94% of his salary into a private, opaque account that only she controlled.
94%.
Yeah. And she gave that account a deeply bureaucratic, menacingly boring name, Household Logistics.
94% gone instantly. So he wakes up on payday, and almost his entire salary has already vanished into some black box.
Instantly. And To justify this to him, she implemented a strict no cash policy in the house. She argued that physical cash created accountability gaps for tax reporting.
Oh, come on.
So all of his daily spending was moved to a single debit card with a strict $500 weekly limit.
Here's where I have to stop and push back because I know you, the listener, are screaming this at your dashboard right now.
I know.
How does a grown man, an engineer pulling in a senior salary, accept an allowance? How do you just nod and say, sure, give me $500 a week of my own money?
If we connect this to the bigger picture of how high-functioning professionals communicate, it starts to make terrifying sense. Predators in these dynamics don't say, I am restricting your access. They use the language of optimization. They talk about partnership, household budget reviews, and tax benefits.
Right.
By framing cash as an accountability gap, she made him feel like wanting his own money was somehow financially irresponsible.
She flipped it on him.
Completely. She made him feel like the messy, disorganized one, while she was the responsible caretaker.
Wow. So she frames it as, I'm doing this for us.
Yes. And here's the true control mechanism. She never actually lowered his $500 allowance. If she dropped it to $50, he would rebel. That would be too obvious.
Right. He noticed that.
Instead, whenever they had a disagreement or an argument about anything what to eat, whose family to visit, she would simply log into her banking app and freeze his debit card entirely.
Leaving him completely stranded. You can't even buy a coffee to cool off.
Exactly. The allowance wasn't discretionary. It was the only money he could access. And she held the remote control.
It's just brutal. So she's siphoned off his daily income. She's taken his retirement. But what about windfalls? Marcus was a senior engineer. He definitely got bonuses. How did she handle those?
She utilized what the dossier calls the gift economy scam.
A gift economy.
Yeah. When Marcus received his end-of-year bonus checks, she would encourage him to gift them to her. Again, using that same sterile administrative language it was for tax shielding.
Always the taxes.
Right, and she promised she was going to reinvest the money for their future.
And of course, just like the 401k, there were no receipts, no confirmation numbers, just a verbal promise across the kitchen island that the money was working for them.
Right, until reality hit. They had a major family medical emergency. Marcus needed cash quickly to cover some upfront costs, so he went to Lena and said, hey, we need to pull from those reinvested bonuses.
And what did she say?
Her response. She flatly refused. She looked at him and said, that money is now in my name. You chose to give it. I can't reverse a gift.
Wait, she invoked a legal loophole in a marriage?
It's a complete inversion of reality. She convinced him to hand over the money under the guise of family planning and shared goals, and the moment he needed it for the actual family, she invoked a rigid, literal legal definition of a gift to deny him access to his own labor.
That is wild.
In the eyes of the law, a gift is a completed transfer. The money was simply gone.
That is chilling. It's
Yeah.
using the law as a weapon against intimacy. But here's where it gets really interesting. And by interesting, I mean absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
Because stealing his money is one thing, ruining his future is another. This brings us to the final blow that took Marcus from just being broke to being actively destroyed, dead inversion.
This is perhaps the most vicious tactic in the entire dossier because it requires a profound level of premeditation. Lena didn't just want his cash, she wanted his credit capacity.
Okay.
She used Marcus's pristine credit score to take out a series of small, unsecured loans. She told him these were for home improvement.
Improvements that, by the way, never happened. No new kitchen, no new roof.
Never happened. But the loans were taken out strictly in his name. Month after month, she would pay the absolute bare minimum on these loans out of their joint account.
Just keeping them afloat.
Right, she never touched the principal.
Yeah.
So the debt just sat there, growing slowly, anchored entirely to his Social Security number.
And then comes the kill shot.
Yes. She then goes to the bank and takes out a massive single consolidation loan. But this time, she takes it out strictly in her name.
Wait, why?
Well, the stated purpose of this huge loan was to pay off all those small home improvement loans she took out in his name. But instead of paying off his debt, she just pocketed the massive pile of cash.
So let me get this straight. She walks away with all the cash from the new loan, and Marcus is still stuck holding the bag on the original debt.
Exactly. But she knew that as a high earner, Marcus could eventually dig himself out of that debt if he found out. To fully paralyze him, she had to destroy his ability to borrow or recover.
It's so calculated.
It really is.
Yeah.
So she took his remaining personal savings and used it to pay off his old student loans.
Wait, paying off his student loans sounds like a good thing, right? How is it all a trap?
It sounds good until you look at how she did it. She routed his savings through a third-party debt settlement company that charged exorbitant fees, which completely drained his remaining liquid cash. And right after that transaction went through, she systematically logged into every joint credit card they shared and stripped his name from the accounts as an authorized user. Wow. She told him it was to protect his credit health.
Wait, so let me make sure I have this right. Credit scores are basically a ratio, right? It's how much debt you owe versus how much credit you have access to.
Correct.
By stripping his name off their joint cards, she instantly wiped out hundreds of thousands of dollars of his available credit limit. Suddenly, that $47,000 of home improvement debt made it look like he was maxing out everything he had.
That is exactly the mechanic. His credit utilization ratio skyrocketed to nearly 100%. Because of that, and the flags triggered by the third-party debt settlement, his pristine credit score plummeted 140 points overnight.
Just overnight.
Yeah, it was a complete calculated liquidation of his financial identity.
He was left owing $47,000 on credit lines he never personally opened, for home improvements he never saw, with no available credit to fall back on.
And to add insult to injury, once his credit was completely ruined and he couldn't even qualify for a gas card, she played the hero.
Of course she did.
She offered to add him as a blind authorized user on her primary credit card.
A card where he couldn't see the balance, he couldn't see the statements, he couldn't see the history. He was just a passenger in his own life, completely dependent on her goodwill.
It is the ultimate manifestation of the cage she built. She engineered his debt, destroyed his credit, and then graciously offered him a plastic lifeline that she could sever at any moment from her smartphone.
It's heavy, so we have to bring this back to the present day. We have to look at the wreckage left behind. Where does this leave Marcus Everett?
It's pretty bleak.
Well, he lost his house. He lost his entire retirement. His creditworthiness is non-existent. Right now, as we read this dossier, he is sitting in insolvency proceedings. He is living in a rented one-bedroom apartment, and he is surviving on a prepaid debit card because traditional banks view him as too high of a risk to even open a standard checking account.
And the ultimate insult, the detail that truly underscores the coldness of this entire operation.
Yeah.
Lena filed for divorce.
Yeah.
And the official reason she listed on the legal paperwork, she cited irreconcilable differences and financial mismanagement by the husband.
Financial mismanagement. She legally blamed him for the wreckage she meticulously engineered.
Which is the final rewriting of history. And it brings us to the core lesson of this entire dossier.
Right.
When we think of financial abuse, our minds immediately go to theft.
Sure, like getting robbed.
We picture stolen wallets, forged checks, someone screaming threats to hand over a paycheck. But this dossier proves that in high-functioning couples, financial abuse does not look like theft. It looks like help.
It mimics the language of partnership, like let's optimize this or let's shield this from taxes.
Precisely. It mimics partnership while systematically dismantling the victim's access to resources. The abuser doesn't build a cage out of iron bars. The victim doesn't see the cage because the cage is built from his own bank statements, resigned, rerouted, and retitled in her name.
Yeah.
The abuser never says, you cannot have money. They say, I will take care of the money for you.
The difference is nothing and everything. There's a statement at the very end of this dossier. It's Marcus's final recorded statement to the investigator, and it is haunting. I want to read it to you exactly as it's written.
Go ahead.
Marcus said, "She never raised her voice. She never threatened me. She just made every dollar I earned belong to her, and I thanked her for it. That's the part that kills me. I thanked her."
That is the insidious nature of this kind of reality distortion. By the time you realize you're bleeding, you've already thanked the person holding the knife.
So I want you, the listener, to think about something right now. Think about the digital permissions you've clicked accept on just this past week.
Really think about it.
Think about those terms of service, those biometric prompts you casually wave your face at. Who really has the keys to your financial autonomy right now?
Right.
Do you actually know where your direct deposit goes once it hits the banking server? Or are you just trusting a convenient little app on your phone that someone else set up? Look at your own household logistics. Are you a partner or are you on an allowance?
It's a terrifying audit to perform on your own life. But in a world where your entire financial existence can be rerouted with a thumbprint, It's an audit you cannot afford to skip.
Check her phone tonight, because the next story we tell might be yours.